Hi everyone, welcome back to An Accidental Retiree. When you see this, this will be November 1st. And so I have my Halloween little light on today, and I'll probably show you some little Halloween decorations I've had around my office all season. I had this on last night and I was working on some of my journaling stuff, and I had a lovely evening doing that. I had a cold the last week, and I have been the last 2 days leaning into that, hoping that I will get better so that I can do a lot of writing. A year ago, I had COVID, so I ended up not being able to do any writing in November, I don't think at all. So this project that I'm working on is something I kind of had planned way back then. So, I've not finished it, and I'm hoping to finish it, my rough draft, in November or December. So I have, some journals there. Maybe it'll be January. I'll do it at my own pace, but I do have that 50,000 word goal in the back of my mind, but I'm only going to do a 35,000 word goal. So I'm going to, talk about the things I have in this area. Isn't anywhere near where I want it to be. And you know what? It's not going to be by November, but I have made progress in my kitchen. My dining room looks like a mess, but there's progress. I still probably will have our big mail pile to sort on the day this goes up. So I don't know how much writing I will be doing, but I never do writing too much on the weekend. And I'm going to try to do a little bit on Saturdays, but I don't plan to do a whole bunch on Saturdays. For one, the house is very busy because everybody's home, and at least at some point during the day they're home. My husband sometimes works in the mornings, so I have times that I can do it, but I have to do things at my pace. My blood pressure isn't quite what it should be. Today I had a lot of flush, but it might have been this bug I'm still fighting, and maybe it's turning into a sinus infection. I don't know at this point, but I'm just not sure what's going on exactly. And so there's that going on. Anyway, so I have, some things to show you that I did do. I did make progress. It just isn't as visible as I'd like it to be, but I did make progress this month. And my main focus was my health. So, I'm doing overall a little bit better, but I've been fighting a nasty something. And I don't know if maybe I have a little sensitivity to my new blood pressure medicine, but the old one definitely was causing some problems. So, and I don't know how long it takes for something like that doesn't go well with you to get out of your system when you've had it for a few years and your metabolism is slow. So I'm reporting to the doctors much more than I would normally. And I don't know if they always can see everything, but I do give my blood pressure readings as they'd like. So, and I go in tomorrow. So, hence that. So anyway, we're on the eve of Halloween. Today is the 30th of October, but I want to get this done before, you need to see it on Saturday. Now, I was thinking about putting this up on Wednesday because I am going to be going to kind of some Saturdays and Wednesdays, and I have a job for you. Let me know if you like uploads on Wednesdays better from me or Saturdays, because I'm thinking of just switching to Wednesdays. I don't necessarily see much difference, but I'm going to be kind of monitoring how many views I get during that time. I'm looking at how I can get more views even on my older videos. I'm doing some research, so I may have some things I need to do in my settings. I don't know, but I'm going to be trying to build my channel a little bit more than the wonderful 357 subs. I love you all, but I've been doing this like 8 years, so I'm not quitting anytime soon. I will be quitting when I want to retire. This is for fun, but I'd like to be a little more successful than I am at it, and that will encourage me to do it a little longer, of course. But I don't know how much you want to look at old lady moi. So there's that. I get it. I get it. It's like I'm not as cute as I once was. I'm Not sure I ever was that cute to begin with, but you know, so I've been told. Anyway, I mean, not told that I'm not as cute. I've been told that I've always been cute, they said, or, you know, whatever. But who knows? Anyway, now no, I'm an old lady. I get it. I get that. But I have felt that putting the gray hair, you know, early in my 50s, there isn't quite as much difference. It's not quite as much of a shock. I did, you know, I used to color it in my 50s off and on, but I was waiting for it to be like this. So it was, you know, not mousy. And that's what I did. So, anyway, and when I first retired, I went red, and I did look good as a redhead. I probably, because I was sick when I was born, I was really probably an auburn, but I, you know, went kind of mousy auburn blonde. It was kind of a weird color. It was pretty. It was very pretty, but and unique, but it wasn't, you know, it was hard to describe. But then, you know, I am hard to describe, aren't I, folks? Anyway, so I'll be back in just a second with some of this stuff. Okay, I want to show you what I did do this month. Now, I have been working on my HB90 planner, and I set that up. I had a whole lot of fun doing this, and I'll be keeping this page for quite a while. My 90-day writing planner, and so HB is heart breathings, and so that's what that stands for. So I have been taking classes with Sarah Cannon. I like how I have my little ghost sticker popping out of a light hole. Anyway, I had some fun with that. And I'm finding stickers really help spark creative interest. And this, I was going to maybe glue this down to this page. So I haven't done that yet, but I will be doing it to give it a little more sturdiness. And so I have this calendar here, and this is, you know, what I've been doing this month. Pretty much it's like a little bit of a diary, and for me right now, I didn't do November quite yet. I started it, I guess. I did start it. I have, you know, for sure I'm resting on Sundays, and I have a few other things written down, and some things that will challenge me maybe in my writing. I don't have December, but I have it laid out here. So that's, you know, I should have December done, but I don't. And that's one thing you might see me working on. I actually have my January in here because I think you should kind of be starting to think about the next month. And, you know, I have some more black pages I can put some stickers on and whatnot. And then I have my monthly planner here. I originally thought I was going to do 25,000 words, but I've changed it. I'm going to stretch it to 35,000 words in November. So I don't have, I don't think I did in October for this. So I'm going to, no, actually this was October. I had a 25,000 word goal. I didn't do anything this month. I got too sick, and, you know, I was just focusing on getting this area ready. So I'm sorry about that. I was thinking that I have to write down my November goals here. So that's something I have to do. And I'm going to probably keep this part of it to kind of update every month. So I'll have an overall in the first part, and then this will be the, you know, day-to-day kind of thing. And then, you know, I can write my successful days and stuff, but I don't think I'm going to be using that during the 90 days. I might use it in December and January, but it seems like it would be overload. So if I do successful days in this thing, and you'll see the same thing in my my actual planner for the month of my novel planners. I'm not sure I like this concept. This concept, you know, probably what I will do is I will probably start the rest of the year. I'll do 90-day planners maybe for my writing, and then this would be a 90-day planner just for living, because I think, I have with my YouTube channel, I have things to put down. And I think I'd like to keep those separate. So for me, HB90 has to be tweaked a little bit, I'm thinking. But, the thing is I have it set up. And I have, some places to take notes. And this is, I'm going to keep, I think, for my YouTube and my life. I think that's what I'm going to do there. So, and then writing kind of, cuts into it. But I'll keep this like this for now. Because, it's really to, have that writing focus, knowing that it's also YouTube. So I may make a new one for my YouTube stuff and put it there and do it that way. I think that's what's going to be smart for me. As I'm looking through this, see, that's kind of how it is. You kind of, see, a different swing on it. I'm not sure. Generally, I don't like, since I've been I used to have planners all the time when I was teaching. I had to keep everything, all the balls afloat. But, when you're retired, it's a little different because you just have to go day to day. But yet I don't feel like I'm being productive enough, so I'm reintroducing myself to planners. But I can't put everything in my life in it because, it was more for at work, and then I'd have little highlights of things that I had to do, at home. This month, the writing that I did do was in my shadow work journal, and I did the shadow stuff. I want to do the comfort part, a couple days of that, and then I will do probably in November a little bit, but not too much, and then I put it away for a year, and then I'll take it out again. Next year I'll do it in August and fill it out a little bit more than I did, but I just got this in October, and I'm liking it. There's some things I didn't want to do the mirror exercises. Maybe I'll feel differently. I'll read this next August and then do a little bit more, but for now, and I'm going to keep this in my desk area so that I, have it handy. But I'm not going to do too much with this this year. But this, like I said, I'm probably going to transfer this over in December, maybe already. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. Then I did do this, which is, I worked on quite a bit last night. I still haven't been able to get the sticker off. I have my Rough Draft Challenge journal, and then I have Nano November. And I had a lot of fun with stickers and decorating. And then I loved this cat, and I thought, I think I want this cat to be kind of in the book, and maybe I'll do a story. It's called A Cat Named Silk. I just thought her name would be Silk if there was a cat like that. And I said maybe a future storyline or in the series, or maybe it will be, I don't know. But my cat named Silk, I thought that would be. So I just liked her, and I had to put her there for decoration. Now, I think my goal is 35,000 words, but I do have the Nano November calendar here, and I still am going to try for that, even though my goals are different. And then I will be putting my word counts down each day on this page. And then I have Sundays are always off. I won't be doing any writing on Sunday normally. I might, you never know. But I'm not going to necessarily, I'll record it in a different color. And if I do, but generally I try to keep Sundays as my day of rest. It's kind of to honor my grandmother, who really felt you needed to rest on the day of Sunday. You couldn't do any. She liked to embroider and do all kinds of arts and crafts, and she never would do them on Sunday. She said that's the day of rest. And I never could understand that, because for me that was the relaxation, and it still is. But I honor her because of that, and I just use that day for family, and I hate it. Sometimes we have to do little cleaning tasks that day because it's the only day my husband is really here, and we do a little bit of that, and probably this weekend we will be, because I do want to have this a little bit closer to Christmas ready, even though we're not having anybody over. I just like the house nice and fresh at Christmas time. But anyway, and we got this month, we had the windows put in, so we're still working on putting everything back together, and we'll work more towards that probably this weekend. But anyway, so you know, I have my November kind of ready here. I have all the numbers plotted out, and then I have the day-to-day, and I'm going to plan day-to-day. I kind of mentioned it in the other one, but I'm not using that one so much as I'm using this. That day-to-day would be more with YouTube and stuff like that, which I'm not going to have to do too much other than editing, because I did a lot of filming. I may have one that I want to film next month, but, well, two, because I'll do a writing one, of course, at the end. But then you have the day-to-day, your to-dos, which I can, you know, keep track of, you know, here. And then, you know, today's harvest, things worth remembering, today's harvest. So it's sort of like a diary. So, and I don't know that I'll do it every day, but it's there for me if I want to. And then, you know, these are just other notes, you know, that I could have. See, this is why I don't think I need, you know, more than one planner. I think, you know, I could put my 90 days somewhere in here, and, you know, I could do it a little differently, I think. But, you know, you could, it's yours. You set it up. And then these are stickers that I used and I have ready for next year at this time of year. Now, this is what is really different. I have this colored paper. And so if I get ideas for my 1950s story or things I want to thread with this novel that I'm working on in the 50s story, I would put that list here, and I kept pink for that. And then I did blues for anything for a 1960s story, which this is sort of, but, you know, maybe there'd be another one that I would write, and so I have it there. And maybe notes that I need to think of for later on in the book, and, you know, I probably will jot those down. I may do quite a bit of that even, you know, tonight or tomorrow. And then, you know, the World War I, World War II, I kept in the same kind of color. 1800s. I want the stories to thread through, so these would be things, ideas that I have to thread the stories through. And I'll be, you know, in a series. And then the 1970s moving forward would be, but also that story within a story is the first thing that I'm thinking of. I don't know how far into, you know, when I do the 70s, it'll be, you know, and then I have yellow for something. Maybe yellow is for, I don't know. I haven't decided what yellow is. Maybe I forgot to do yellow. Ah, okay, well, maybe I'll do yellow for the 80s. So, 1980s. So, and 90s. So if I do anything like that, so, you know. So, or maybe I'll put one of these in here for the story within a story, and then do 70s green. I don't know, something like that. Maybe that'll be 70s and 80s. I don't know, but I'll have to think that over. But you see, I can, you know, it's always a process. Writing is a process, and even as your planning is a process. Planning is a good place to put down your notes. You need a good place to do that. And I think these covers I'll just be changing out every month. Now, like I said, I'm not sure how much I'm going to do this moving forward. I will use this cover, though, you know, as part of my planning period. And like I said, I may just be moving this around in the next month. Maybe I'll do that even tonight as I rethink everything. But for now, I'll just keep it this way. But I don't want to be doing double duty, especially in November. So I may just flip this around a little bit and, you know, keep these pages for future use in February and or March. And this is my December, probably, you know, like I said, I'm going to flip different covers just to keep things different. Eventually, maybe I'll just have one leather cover that I use. but, you know, I have the same concept sort of set up, but not set up. And I won't be setting this up, of course, until it gets closer to the end of November for December. But this is my December one. And then I'll go back to one of these. This one might be January, and then this might be, you know. So I really don't think I'm going to do an HB90 planner. I think my HB90 planner is just simply my, like my Preptober, my calendar, okay, if that makes any sense. So I'll be flipping some of these over, and then I'll use that cover another month. How many pages in there I'll keep for, you know, the next month, but and flip over whatever I need, because I think one a month is good. So there is what you see. You see a whole process. That's the kind of process as you work through it. I'm using and learning a different method of planning, even though I did something similar when I was working as a teacher, but you know, I'm kind of going back to my roots here a little bit with my writing, so that's okay. So again, I'm going to have a goal, I believe, of 35,000 words, but as you will see in my, or you've seen in my journal, I have options to, you know, put down, you know, well, I have something that shows me the goals for 50,000 every day. So, you know, I can switch over to the 50,000 if I'm doing well. I can, you know, try to do more if I really get going on my writing and I'm feeling really super. And, you know, getting a lot done and my neck is allowing it and everything, you know, all the stars and, you know, moon is lined up or whatever, you know, I don't know what it would take, but, you know, that's something that I will hopefully do is 50,000, because then I will for certain have this novel completed, maybe even the start of another. I'll be able to see a little bit more if I really have one or two novels there. And, you know, because I'm wondering if I'm not doing a part of one anyway. So, you know, we'll see. I think this is the first novel that I'm working on, and then it gives me, you know, things for it. And as you saw, I have plans for how to work with all that. Anyway, so if you like this video, again, 35,000 words is my goal for Rough Draft Challenge, but, you know, it would be nice to do 50,000 words in November, but if I do less, that's fine. It's all progress towards getting that rough draft done. I have more done now. I'm already successful because I have more words towards a first novel than I've ever had before at the end of the year in my life. So we're on the right track. It's just, it may take longer than, you know, a month or two. It might take a whole year. And good novels sometimes are written that long. It's rare that you write them all at once. So, I mean, the whole concept of rough draft is just to get you going, or the whole concept of NaNoWriMo was to get you going on a novel, which I don't think that's necessarily encouraging good writing. It might be great for business, but not necessarily great for good writing. Great for pulp fiction, but not great for great writing. So, you know, I'd like my books to be like a fine wine. You know, they get better with age. You know, that's what I hope I achieve, you know. So I'm more into the art because I have that privilege that I've lived a different life where you know, I was something else in my career. I was a teacher, and now I'm exploring my writing further and in depth. I always had that as a background hobby, something I was building, and I did want to write someday professionally, but you know, that path was not wide open for me when I was younger. Now I can enjoy it and savor it as part of my entrance into old age. And, well, entrance, I'm already there. I'm 66, come on. So anyway, but, you know, so that I can keep doing the rest of my life. More than anything else that I have done in my life, I can do that. So, you know, and I don't have to have, I mean, the money would be nice. I'm not rich by any means, but I have a retirement. You know, I'm hopefully going to have a roof over my head the rest of my life. Hopefully everything will be okay. who knows, you know, none of us are certain of anything, but it isn't, I'm not, I'm not looking to put food on my table through my writing, you know, and, you know, I'm not having to do odd jobs to be able to support my writing. I have the luxury of doing my writing whenever I can do it. And, you know, even when you have all day long, as you get old, you don't have all day long that you feel like you can write. So, or, you know, there's always grandchildren or your husband or health experiences or, you know, family that comes to visit, and, you know, all the wonderful things of life happen just like they do when you're young, when you're old. That still impact how much you get done in your writing. So I just kind of want that to be sort of a message. It's a passion for any of us who write, and a struggle for any of us who write, no matter what age we are. So whatever age you are, keep writing, okay? I don't care if you're 14 years old. You can go ahead and start your novel. Start working on your rough draft. You'll be ahead of me. I mean, I did try even then, you know, I did. I used to write haikus in private. I used to write, you know, little chapters. I used to, in high school, I would read, you know, some of my writing to my friends, or they'd read it at lunch and they liked it, you know, and my high school teacher didn't like my writing. I had a creative writing class. I was just talking to my bestie yesterday, one of my besties anyway, yesterday, and she had the same teacher a year later, and I said I didn't necessarily like him. He made me stop writing for a while and, you know, stop thinking about it for a while, because he said I wrote like a 25-year-old, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. You know, it was like, yeah. Anyway, so I was very confused, and then, you know, like I had a college professor, I wrote a cute, nice little, we had to write a memoir type story, and I wrote a nice little story, or we had to make up a story, but I used my great uncle, who was like a grandfather to me, and it was a fictionalized version of something that happened, and, you know, almost a memoir sort of thing, and he insulted me because it wasn't sexy enough. There wasn't enough sex in it. It's all about sex, and there was no twist in that relationship that I know of. I mean, you know, maybe there was going to be, maybe it was grooming me for all I know, but I don't think so. He was just a great guy, and yeah, anyway, I'll have more stories about that, you know, in my novel, maybe even too. And I'll tell you about the real story, and, you know, maybe you'll, no, anyway, so I have that planned coming up. But anyway, so if that doesn't tantalize you enough about my writing, I don't know what will. Anyway, if you like this video, don't forget to put that thumbs up button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, An Accidental Retiree. I'm Tammy E saying bye for now. God bless, and see you soon.